Walk into almost any gym, and you will see someone aggressively crunching and twisting their torso in the pursuit of a stronger midsection. We've been conditioned to believe building a powerful core requires endless repetition of these bending motions. But clinical sports science paints a completely different picture. When you combine heavy mechanical load with spinal flexion and rotation, exactly the posture you see here, you are engaging the primary mechanism for severe lower back injuries and disc degeneration. The biological paradox of the human midsection is that the very same muscle groups capable of flexing and twisting the spine are actually designed to act as its ultimate brake system. To understand how the human body produces explosive, dynamic movement, we have to look at how it stops itself from moving. Anatomically, the core is a 360-degree cylinder of 29 muscle pairs, bridging the shoulder and pelvic girdles. Structurally, it acts as a rigid conduit to safely transmit kinetic force from the lower to the upper body, rather than producing force itself. Redefining the midsection as a rigid functional bridge, rather than a hinge, alters every calculation of human mechanics. The highest levels of physical power are generated in the lower body. For a tennis player to deliver a massive serve, that kinetic energy must travel from the ground up, moving directly through the center of the body into the extremities. This schematic shows what happens when that central bridge is weak. If the torso bends or twists as the legs push off, you experience an energy leak. The kinetic power bleeds out through the unstable midsection before it can ever reach the fist. Because the force didn't transfer cleanly, the smaller joints at the end of the kinetic chain, specifically the knees and shoulders, are forced to overcompensate. They bear the brunts of that misdirected energy, leading directly to chronic pain and mechanical wear. Conversely, a perfectly stable trunk provides a solid, unyielding base. When the center holds firm, all the torque generated by the legs and hips is efficiently whipped right into the bat. Maximum power in your arms and legs is mathematically impossible without absolute rigidity in your center. The body maintains this rigidity through three specific biomechanical mechanisms, collectively known as anti-movement. The first is anti-extension. When pushing heavy weight overhead, the core muscles lock down to prevent the lumbar spine from collapsing backward under the crushing load. The second plane is anti-flexion. When you carry a heavy load in front of you, gravity is actively pulling your spine forward. The posterior muscles of the core fire continuously to keep the torso upright and prevent it from folding. Finally, anti-rotation. When delivering or receiving an asymmetrical impact, the core acts as an emergency brake, stopping the spine from twisting into dangerous whiplash. To lock down all three of these planes at the exact same time, the central nervous system uses a highly specific technique called bracing. Look at these two cross-sections of the torso. For years, fitness advice prioritized hollowing the core by drawing the stomach in toward the spine. True bracing requires a strong outward muscular contraction of the entire trunk, expanding the cylinder. The data confirms the physics. This outward bracing technique proves to be 32% more stable for the lumbar spine than drawing the stomach in. Mastering these three anti-movement planes through an outward brace provides the only biologically safe foundation for loading the human spine. If the core's biological job is to support movement by resisting it, a scientifically sound training routine has to actively minimize spinal bending. The blueprint for 3D rigidity starts on the floor with static isometric holds like traditional planks. These minimize the load imposed on the spine while maximizing the activation of deep abdominal tissues. But static holds have a severe limitation. They lock you into a rigid, predictable position on the ground, a scenario you will almost never encounter in the chaos of a real athletic environment. To build functional strength, the routine has to progress to your feet. This means utilizing dynamic, asymmetrical exercises done on one leg or with uneven weights that actively try to pull your posture out of alignment. You force the central nervous system to react to unpredictable real-world physics rather than just lying on a gym mat. This split-screen illustration highlights the advanced tools of modern sports science. On the left, a unilateral farmer's carry forces the body to battle anti-lateral flexion. On the right, a cable pull-off press forces the trunk to resist extreme rotational torque. As you advance, compound movements like single-arm cable pushes and kettlebell swings combine these forces, intensely challenging the core's resistance across all three geometric axes simultaneously. Aesthetic definition in the midsection is a byproduct of low body fat, but it tells you nothing about the core's mechanical capacity. Running faster, jumping higher, and moving powerfully through the world depends on mastering the biological art of keeping the center perfectly still.